Welcome back again, Tamriel adventurers, and today we're going to be talking about the real MVPs of Elder Scrolls Online, and that is assistants. So what are assistants? These are Crown Store purchased NPCs that can provide services to you and your group members when you're out and about adventuring around Tamriel. Well, actually, not quite everywhere. They can't be used in Cyrodiil, Imperial City or Battlegrounds for various amusing reasons when we read the tooltips. But they can be pretty much used everywhere else though, Infinite Archive, group dungeons, trials, etc. So let's take a look at the Crown Store because that's where you get access to these assistants. And it's a biggie because they cost 5,000 crowns each. Here's a section in the Crown Store, in the upgrade section, and here are the available assistants. There's quite a few different assistants these days, but there's actually only 5 different roles that can occur and only 4 purchasable roles. So 5,000 crowns is nothing to be sniffed at the moment, considering that 5,500 crown packs are currently $29.99 Great British Pounds. I'll put the equivalent dollars and euros on the screen. It's a fairly hefty investment for any player, especially if you want to purchase the 4 available from the Crown Store. And that's the 4 different types. As you can see, there's more than one banker available. If you pay for your ESO Plus monthly, then you can save up your crowns each month to invest if that's how you prefer. But if you do pay for ESO Plus yearly, for example, then you get all the year's crowns at once each time that you pay. It might help with your purchasing needs. So in the last 9 years since assistants have been introduced to ESO, I've only ever seen them discounted I think twice, and even then it was like a 10% discount down to 4,500 crowns. On the other side though, crowns are on sale more often, which may be worth considering to help reduce the price of purchasing assistants. And the other thing I want to mention before we jump into talking about the exact assistants is that your group mates can use your assistant and you can use their assistant. So I know a few players who have purchased 1 assistant each in their 4-person group and they share while playing together. Now, I'm not going to lie though, if you're an adventurer, a solo adventurer, or you play with different people a lot, then it definitely helps to grab the assistants you find most useful for yourself. So let's actually have a look at the different types of assistants. So we have got bankers, and that is exactly as it sounds. This gives you access to your bank whilst you are out and about adventuring. So if you run out of lockpicks and you're stood in front of a master chest, you can get your banker out and you can grab your lockpicks collection from your bank, no problem. If you're leveling a new character and you've got crafted sets that you've created at different levels for them, and you've just hit and leveled up to the next set that you want, you can open your banker, you can put stuff in the bank you no longer need and whip out that new crafted set for the new level you've just achieved without any problems. The only downside and difference to using the personal banker versus the banks in main cities around Tamriel is that you have no access to guild banks and guild stores through these personal bankers. It is just literally access to your bank. So the next one is merchants, and just like bankers, merchants and bankers do seem to be available in themed pairs. So we've got Azabi the cat banker and Fezes the merchant. They are in the style of Alfiq. Then we've got the Black Feather Court banker and also the merchant. Nuzzy, that's affectionately called, and Tithys were the OG banker and merchants. But we've also got Atronak themed as well as Clockwork City Factotum themed bankers and merchants as well. And the merchant does exactly what you expect it to do, selling your wares on the go is a massive benefit to keeping trash out of your pockets and making space for the juicy stuff that you want to keep. The assistant merchants, however, will not be able to repair your gear like merchants you find in Tamriel main cities, etc. So there is a slight restriction, like with the banker, on these personal assistants, but for me, having them available is by far and away better. And I'm really hoping in the future that we'll see some kind of upgraded bankers and merchants so that we can get access to guild banks and get access to repairing as well. Okay, moving on. The next type of assistant is Cyrodiil the Ragpicker. There's also other ones available. Adarine the Fargrave Reg Stealer is also one. I've got the Ragpicker, that was the first one that came out. And basically, they happily trade items you don't need for useful crafting materials. It's another way of saying you can deconstruct your goods like you would at crafting tables, but there is a benefit. You do it all in one place and yield all the materials at once from your deconstructed. So no more trekking from crafting table to crafting table. No more forgetting to tab across from armor to weapons in the blacksmithing table, which I always forget to do. Just one list of all your gear to deconstruct, and you tick all that applies, and hey presto, done. A really, really handy addition to the assistant menu, in my opinion. I actually think that Raggy, that's how I affectionately call her, she's my MVP of all assistants. And finally, the fourth option for a Crown Store purchased assistant is the Armourer assistant. For those of you new to the game, this might not be one to consider just yet though, but it is so handy when you get further into the game and start developing builds and uses for your characters. Basically, the usage is that you set up and save builds for your character, which can include everything from the gear you wear, champion point allocations, attributes, Mundus stone choice, skills loadout. So, for example, on this character, I have got a setup for crafting, farming, and fishing. And then I've also got a setup which is for my combat setup at the moment. They use the same gear, the same skills. It's just the skill point allocation in crafting and the champion point allocation for crafting and fishing, etc., that different on them. But it means that I can switch from doing my combat build into my crafting and fishing build with ease, on the go with my Armourer with me. On my Sorcerer, I have an Infinite Archive build set up, and I have my more normal DD build, and I now have my subclass setup that I'm building at the moment as well. So you can purchase more Armourer slots as well, so you don't just have the 2 free ones per character. And doing that allows you to have 8 character slots in ESO base game, but you can also set up multiple character builds using the Armourer, which really does make for infinite possibilities for how many character builds and setups you can have in the game. A really, really handy assistant to have. Now, the other assistant that is not purchasable through the Crown Store is in our assistants section here. I've not got it, and it is acquired by completing the Thieves Guild questline. I'm not big on the world of pickpocketing and thievery, but I can see how helpful it would be for those people who are. Being able to fence your stolen goods on the fly would be a big plus if you're into that side of the game. Not having pockets full of stolen items whenever you're entering a city where the guards might catch you and take all your illegal items would clearly be helpful. And if pinching is your thing, then this assistant might be right up your street. Again, it can't go to Cyrodiil or Battlegrounds or Imperial City, and you do have to complete the Thieves Guild questline, so you must have access to the Thieves Guild and Hughesbane area DLCs to achieve that. So how do we actually use and get access to these assistants? So in your collections menu, into collections, and then in the allies section, into assistants, and here are the ones that I've acquired. These are my ones. And you can assign them to your quick slot bar, so you can get access to them fairly easily as well. So mine are all set up on my quick slot bar. So whenever I want to get my merchant out she comes, Nuzzy, and I can sell my items, all my kind of ornate items that I want to sell. Clear my pockets of trash. Excellent. And then when I want to deconstruct some items, so get the Ragpicker out, and we swap Nuzzy for Raggy. And here is the massive list of items that I can deconstruct. They are separated into apparel, weapons, etc. in different styles, but I can deconstruct all this stuff that I don't need. All in a great big list. Oh, there's some ornate ones there, I should have sold them. And as you can see on the right hand side, deconstructs everything in one go. Now, if I need to deconstruct anything, I do not go from table to table anymore. I just use Raggy. That's why I think she's my MVP of assistants. And then Tithis, my banker, I picked up a ring of willpower I quite fancy storing in my bank. Oh, and a bloodthirsty necklace. We could put that in there. Some furnishings can go in the bank. And that ring of willpower there as well. Job done. Everything's now safe in the bank. I've sold all the items that I wanted to free up some space, and I've deconstructed all the items. This is my kind of routine after I've been through a dungeon, after I've done some trials, even during overland kind of gameplay now. And that's why I think that you guys should really consider whether or not you've got the crowns to spare to buy these assistants. Thanks for joining me on this rather short video about assistants, and hopefully you got some value out of this. And if you did, it would be really good if you dropped a like and considered subscribing if you want to see more content like this. And I'd love to know, if you have assistants already, which one do you use the most? Drop it in the comments and I'll see you down there for a chat.